It's all about truth. All of it. Every single thing. All boils down to the truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free. All right, welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. We are live here on the Press for Truth YouTube channel. It's really hard to believe that it's been 20 years. Can you believe that? 20 years ago today, July 4th, 2006, is when I launched this YouTube channel and began doing interviews, commentary on world-shaping events, boots on the ground reporting, eventually evolved into making documentary films and then daily videos, and it's been quite a ride ever since. I've had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of exciting moments, traveling to dozens of countries, being detained and arrested at various events, beaten up and attacked. But I've also had far many positive experiences than I've had negative, and it's been just an absolute wild ride, guys. So I'm going to take your questions and your comments. Let me make sure the chat is working. Love you since I first saw you at the meeting when AJ got you on film. Yeah, that was in 2006 at the Bilderberg conference in 2006, and I want to go over some of the different moments that have happened over the years. Maybe you guys could leave in the chat. I'll eventually go through all of that and tell me what were some of the memorable moments that you recall from my coverage over the past 20 years. If you've been watching since 2006, thank you so much for being a loyal viewer and a loyal subscriber. And if you're new here, stick around. The first 20 years was pretty wild. I think the next 20 years are going to be even crazier. And I'm not about to slow down anytime soon. Of course, I did have some bumps in the road along the way. I started noticing in around 2017 or 2018 or so, when I started being heavily censored and shadow banned. I was no longer in the recommended tabs. I was demonetized. And I started to get a sense that my days here at YouTube may be numbered. And sure enough, over the next couple of years, my reach got smaller and smaller. My growth was pretty much stunted. And then in 2020, YouTube decided to terminate my channel. Out of nowhere, at the flip of a switch, all my work was just evaporated, disappeared. They terminated the channel in 2020. It was around the summer of 2020 after all my COVID coverage, which is what I think ultimately essentially led to the shutdown of the channel. And then miraculously in 2022, 2 years later, I got a message from YouTube on Twitter, of all places, saying, "We've made a mistake. We apologize for the inconvenience. We've reinstated your channel." That came really out of the blue. I was like, whoa, okay, we're back on. All right. And started posting there again. And then not long later, like a matter of months, I was terminated again. And then I was off of YouTube for the following number of years until just last year when they reinstated the channel. So there was a big chunk between 2020 and 2025 where the channel was essentially non-existent, but I was still banging out daily videos. I didn't slow down whatsoever. Back in 2018, that's around the time when I started getting on other platforms as a hedge against the upcoming censorship that I knew was coming. And BitChute was one of the first platforms that I joined, and that's because the creator of BitChute, Ray Vahey, he created the platform specifically because of guys like me. He had people like me in mind. He told me that personally. I met him last year in person. We both spoke at a conference in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And, he mentioned, and he told me this before, that It was people like me, James Corbett, a few others who he noticed were starting to be censored on YouTube, and he thought, why don't I build an alternative platform? And so he contacted me one day and was like, hey, Dan, I love your work. Been watching you for many years. I just designed and set up a brand new platform called BitChute. I've created a channel for you already. It's called Press for Truth, obviously. And I'm pulling your videos from your YouTube directly into BitChute. So you don't have to do anything. They're automatically uploading. And I just want to get your blessing on this and see if you're okay with this. And sure enough, I responded and I said, yes, thank you. This is something I've been hoping for. This is exactly what we need. And so anyways, when my channel got terminated, I was focusing more on BitChute and Rumble, Odyssey as well, which used to be Library, Steemit, which turned into Hive, PocketNet, which turned into Bastion, and all these other various platforms I started to focus on because they were less likely to censor me. And then all of a sudden last year, YouTube gave me this channel back, which has all my documentary films, 20 years of my life's work, here on this channel. And so I figured, you know what, I'm going to start posting here again. Now, this could happen again. I might get deleted again any day. Who knows when that's going to happen. Just depends on whatever happens in the world next that I go against the status quo on and they don't like it enough that they terminate the channel again. So please, I implore you to subscribe to me on other channels. You can do that at pressfortruth.ca/subscribe. Here that is. And here's where you can find a lot of the other channels: BitChute, Odyssey, Bastion, Minds, Rumble, Hive. Band is no longer a thing. I got to remove that. And YouTube, meh. But these are the other channels I started, focusing on. And one of the most frustrating things for me when I came back to YouTube was all the comments of people saying, whoa, I haven't seen you in years. You just kind of disappeared. I just figured you hung it up and that was that. I'm glad to see you back. And it was like, guys, I've been posting every single day, ever since I got terminated, just on other platforms. That's all. And it was, frustrating to see that nobody subscribed to my other alternative channels and were completely unaware of the fact that I was uploading daily there. But anyways, you got another opportunity now. Go to pressfortruth.ca, subscribe, and there you will find some of my my channels. And today I want to, we'll cover some of the things. Here's the channel. Here, I'll show you right here. If you go to more or about, scroll down here. Look at that. Joined July 4th, 2006. And we'll cover some of the videos I've done over the years. If you go to the video tab and you go to the oldest, you'll see the very first video that I put out a little bit after I started the channel. That's why it says 19 years ago instead of 20. But that'll come up. That'll switch to 20 years any day now. Was my Bilderberg coverage. And we'll talk about some of that. But I had a crazy story I wanted to share with you today. My computer is beeping. Do you guys hear that? And do you recognize what that beep means? See if you can hear it. Now it's not going to do it, of course. But it just, there it is. It just started doing that recently, and I don't know where it's coming from or what it means, but maybe some computer tech people out there can fill me in on what that is. But at any rate, I wanted to tell you a brief little story here, but let me quickly check the chat first and make sure we're still good. Somebody says, wow, I've been following you for a long time. Not sure what year I found you. At least 2015. Love your music too. Thank you. A lot of people don't know that I did all the music for the channel. I scored all 5 of my documentary films, did all the music in those. We'll take a look at that later. Congratulations on 20 years, Dan. Amazing. Thank you. CN Cross Canada News. Hello, sane and rational people, says Eddie Cassidy. I love how you don't stop going to the meetings, even though you're almost the last real tube and shoot hero. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. And speaking of that, Somebody said didn't get a notification of me going live. Actually, guys, having said that, please share the stream right now. I'm gonna do that right now on my Twitter account and also my Facebook and other social media, and maybe you could do that as well. Just let people know we're currently live. Again, this channel is heavily shadow banned, um, so people aren't going to get the notifications, and a lot of people won't even know that I'm live at all. You know, let's see how many people we have live. We got 33 people watching right now. Um, and again, that's with a channel with what 285,000 subscribers. Obviously, that doesn't add up. That doesn't make sense. But that's because I'm heavily shadow banned. Um, so I was a little reluctant to go live just on this channel. I was gonna see if I could restream it to Rumble and BitChute and Odyssey and stuff like that. But I decided to just stick with YouTube today, even though the views are extremely minimal. But maybe you guys can hit that thumbs up button. Start, hitting up the algorithms, leave comments, hit the thumbs up button, share the stream. Together we can maybe build this stream into something that people are actually going to see. Yeah, it has been frustrating, the amount of shadow banning that I've had over the years, but I guess that's just what comes with the territory sometimes when you're over the target. Now, I wanted to talk about something I was going to mention and announce today, but let's just say plans slightly changed. You guys may recall that I launched this channel in 2006, and I started going to cover the annual Bilderberg conference. I'd already heard about Bilderberg like 5 or 6 years earlier. I woke up in the late 90s. I started, my journey after watching a couple of documentary films. Namely, one of the main one that I first saw was, it was maybe the second, third, or fourth one, but it was the most influential to me was Alex Jones's Dark Secrets Inside Bohemian Grove. It was released in the year 2000. And that's when I started waking up to all these issues, went down the massive rabbit hole. And then 2001 came along, September 11th, 2001 to be specific. And that's when I got really active, started joining, like meetups and going out on the streets of Yonge and Dundas in Toronto, handing out DVDs and flyers and information and getting active like that. And then 2006, I started Press for Truth. When I launched the YouTube channel, I called it Weaving Spider because the motto of the Bohemian Grove is "Weaving spiders come not here," and I was like, I'm coming for you, all you guys. I'm gonna expose you, so I'm gonna call myself Weaving Spider. And then it was maybe a few days, few weeks after I came up with the name Press for Truth, and then started uploading videos. But anyways, and in case you didn't know, it was 20 years ago, in the same year that I started covering Bilderberg, that Peter Thiel launched his own secret society, his own version of Bilderberg, and it was called Dialogue. Bear with me, I'm going to pull this up because I recently did a video on this. I should have had this ready to go, but here we go. Let me show you this. Peter Thiel's hidden elite club Dialogue, the tech Bilderberg no one was supposed to see. Peter Thiel's secret dialogue society, the tech elite's private Bilderberg, has been exposed. In this video, Dandig's Press for Truth covers Peter Thiel's creation of his own secret elite network called Dialogue and the massive data leak, revealing their private guest list, bizarre session topics, and elite matchmaking even. This has been hidden. This is a hidden network shaping our future. Watch until the end and share this video if you want the truth to be spread. And I did a good breakdown of the Dialogue Society. And then I decided, you know what? I know where they're going to be this year in August, in a small town just outside of Dublin, Ireland. And I found out what the hotel was. I confirmed it by checking, the dates from August 16th to the 22nd, and you couldn't book a single room at this particular place. It's called the Powers Court Hotel in a little town outside of Dublin. And I decided I'm going to go. I'm going to go cover Dialogue, the Dialogue meeting. Be the first and only journalist that I know of who has ever would be on the site covering it. And so getting a little bit nervous about going completely alone. I contacted some of my friends in our private Bilderberg group to see if anybody was interested in joining me. And I had one friend who stepped up to the plate, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll go. Let's do it. Let's cover Dialogue together." So over the past few days, we have been coordinating on getting this done. He booked his flight. He booked the car that we were going to rent and the Airbnb. And so we were going to split on the car rental and split on the Airbnb. And I looked up my flight tickets already. I was just about to purchase my tickets a couple of days ago. It was about $1,200 for me to do a round trip to Dublin from Vancouver. And then I was about to pull the trigger on July 1st. And I went back to book my tickets, and I noticed now all of a sudden, instead of $1,200, it was $1,500. It went up like $300 just in a matter of like 24 to 48 hours. So I realized, you know what? It's probably because it's Canada Day. It's a holiday, and airlines do that. They'll jack up a price if you're trying to book on a holiday or something like that. So I figured, why don't I wait a couple of days and just see if the price gets back down to where it was, around $1,200. And so I did that. So I was waiting, and then I was just about to purchase my tickets again, just like a day ago. And then all of a sudden, this article popped up and caught my attention. The Wicklow Hotel cancels the secretive Bilderberg Group conference. The Power Court Hotel and Spa event was to be hosted by Dialogue and attended by senior NATO commanders and Trump administration officials. The five-star hotel has canceled bookings for the secretive conference, which was to be hosted in August by the group who was co-founded by U.S. tech billionaire Peter Thiel. The planned event at the Paris Court Hotel, scheduled to be attended by all these guys, will not go ahead at this venue. And so unfortunately, I'm not going to be going anymore. I was going to announce today in this stream that this is my next big thing that I'm coming up on. But sadly to say, the Airbnb that we booked is non-refundable. And I'm glad I dodged a bullet on getting non-refundable flight tickets. But the Airbnb is unfortunately non-refundable. So we're in for about 800 euros. I'm splitting that with my friend. So that's going to be around 650 Canadian dollars that I'm out now for my attempts to go and cover the Dialogue conference. And it's unfortunate. It just sucks. That's just the way it goes. But I was hoping to announce to you today that this is what I've got coming up next month, and let you know I'm gonna be there, and you can count on me to expose these guys like I do with Bilderberg conferences. But they canceled. So unfortunately, I'm stuck with a $650 bill for an Airbnb that they won't give us a refund for. So if you guys do want to help me with that, you want to pitch in, it would be greatly appreciated, obviously. You can do that at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Here's the best thing to do. Sign up for a monthly recurring contribution here at the Patreon alternative, because many years ago I was kicked off of Patreon. They recently reinstated me on Patreon, believe it or not. So you can go there, but I would more recommend you signing up here. $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever is within your means is very greatly appreciated. You could also do a one-time donation with PayPal. That's obviously very appreciated. You can go to Subscribestar as well. That's like a Patreon alternative. Here you can sign up for a monthly recurring contribution as well. And you can also send an e-transfer to Dan at pressfortruth.ca. Thank you to everybody who does contribute in that way. That is particularly easy for Canadians to do. And if you're old school, you're old fashioned, you prefer to keep it old school, you can also send cash or checks made out to me, Dan Dix, or simply just words of encouragement. You know, I get a lot of letters from people, cards and stuff. It's great. So you can send stuff to my P.O. box, guys. But again, I kind of got screwed on the attempt to cover dialogue and paying for an 800 euro Airbnb before we got there and it's non-refundable. It definitely sucks. So if you want to help me out to just cover the cost of that, and maybe you've been a loyal viewer of Press for Truth for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and you've never contributed, that's totally fine. I'm always going to continue to release all my footage for free, daily videos for free, documentary films for free. You can continue to just consume my content for free. That's not a problem. But if you would like to contribute, obviously it's greatly appreciated. This is my livelihood. This is how this is this is what I do. So if you have never contributed, please consider doing so. I've met people on the street many times at rallies and stuff, and they just pull out, you know, a wad of cash out of their pocket and they go, you know what? I've never contributed to you, but I've been watching you for like a decade. So here you go, man. And I think a lot of those people just don't like to use credit cards and PayPal, and that's totally understandable. But there is the P.O. box option as well. But anyways, guys, yeah, really unfortunate turn of events with having the dialogue meeting canceled when we already booked the non-refundable Airbnb. But again, it is what it is. So I'll just bite the bullet and have to cover that expense. But again, hopefully you guys help me out with that at pressfortruth.ca/donate. All right, let me go back to the chat, see if, wow, there's a lot of you guys now. Let's see how many people we actually have watching. Apparently only 33 viewers again. That obviously doesn't add up when I have 285,000 subscribers, right? So maybe you guys can again continue to help share the stream. Let me just take a look online. Yeah, 32 people watching. That's pretty bad. And I don't know how many thumbs up we've got right now, but it probably doesn't add up to 35. Oh yeah, 56 thumbs up. Well, that's not bad. Thank you very much for that, guys. If you have yet to click the thumbs up button, please do so. Will be very greatly appreciated. Let me go back to the chat temporarily here. Thank you, Autistic Expression Gen X, for becoming a PFT member. I very greatly appreciate that. YouTube, however, does take a big chunk of that. I think it's like 20 or 30% or something like that. So if you are, you know, willing to do a monthly recurring contribution, again, I would suggest doing so over at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Join the Patreon alternative or Subscribestar. They take like 5% compared to 30, but I really appreciate it either way. Congratulations on 20 years, Dan. Thank you, CCN, Cross Canada News. Let's see. God bless you for all your service to all the good people. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Congrats on 20 years, says Hako62. I truly appreciate the great and important work that you do, Dan. Thank you, Cable46. Love the Dan. The Dan's the greatest. Barrick the Red. They showed me for some reason. Maybe somebody got the notification. That's good. I'm very thankful for your channel, says KLNV5M. I'm always in support, speaking and exposing corruption. Good on you. We need more. Definitely need more of us. CNN Cross Canada News shared this on X. Thank you very much for sharing the live stream. Dan, would love to have you doing some work with you in August, maybe next Bilderberg. Love you, bro. Thanks for your work, says Max. Yes, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I will be covering Bilderberg. I have been relentlessly since 2006 and pretty much consecutively since 2012, actually, except for the years that I wasn't allowed to fly because I was a prisoner in my own country for not taking part in the global inoculation program. But Um, KLN says, every video I've seen of yours, I've shared it with others, and they really enjoy your videos. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Toronto is a lost cause, says CSB 8858. I'm kind of glad to be out of Toronto. I really like it here in British Columbia. It's beautiful. The mountains, the air, just something about just the vibe out here is just better. That's as best I can put it. I think that's the Bill C8 chirp on your computer. Yeah, good call. It sounds like it went away, Bill. So that's good. Alex Jones got me hooked after watching the Bohemian Grove too. Yeah, that kind of, when you realize that powerful men and billionaires don't just take time out of their busy schedules to go, do rituals in the woods just for fun and games. Like, there's obviously something very serious to it and very real about it. And yeah, that was one of the big rabbit holes for me. Into the Fire was a great documentary. Thank you very much. Yeah, you can probably see the poster in the back there. That's my pride and joy baby. I produced it. I directed it. I scored all the music to it. Yeah, released that in, when was it? 2011, I believe it was released. Had an amazing premiere at a theater in Toronto, and yeah, that was a good one. That was a fun one. We're going to look back at some of the old videos and go through. I'll show you what some of my favorite moments were, and maybe you guys can let me know what some of your favorite moments were too. The money printers control everything that you see and think. I agree, and yeah, we've talked about that many times. All right, let's see. Prayers for your safety. Thank you. Fear not, the Lord is with you. He will be with you every step of the way. Yes. Thank you, KLN. I agree. I've had angels of protection all around me. I've been through so many insane moments, and I've always come out, relatively unscathed. So, pretty incredible. Congrats, Dan, with you and many more years on your channel. Thank you, Tony Rizzo. Thank you for everything you do. You've been a champ. Thank you, Don Lemonati. Congrats on 2 decades, says WWJD Word. Congrats on 20 years. I hit 20 years on May 9th. Cool. Very cool. Wow. We got another OG. Happy 250th, says Jeff Free Bailey. Yeah, it's funny timing that today is also the 250th anniversary of the US of A, and it's my 20th anniversary today. Audio is a bit low. Bump the gain up a bit, says Moon Shipbeth. I'll see if I can do that now in a sec. I show 35 watching with 56 likes, question mark. Yeah, that's because some people come in, they like it, and then they leave. Maybe they clicked on it because they're curious, but they've got things to do. And obviously, everybody can go back and watch the rebroadcast of this. Many people are not going to catch it live. As we saw, there's only, let's see, 41 people watching right now. Again, with a channel that has 285,000 subscribers, that just goes to show you just how heavily shadow banned this channel still is. But at any rate, I'm going to continue to bang out the videos here as best I can, and hopefully that won't be an issue. Audio mixer. Let me see. I think I've got it cranked as much as it will go, but I don't know. You might have to turn up the volume on your end, but hopefully you guys can hear me okay. So check this out. Here it is. First video. This is me at Bilderberg, like 2006. Being harassed by a cop. That's a kind of funny video there. The very second video I ever put out. Let's see, let's open this up in a new tab so we can keep watching. If I enter full screen, is that gonna? I don't know if that messes things up or what. But this is just me and Alex Jones walking around in in around the Capitol. Let me enter cinema mode. See how that looks. Yeah, that's a little better. Um, yeah, me and Alex Jones just like for a solid 10 minutes just walking around, talking to each other, looking at the symbolism on the Canadian Parliament building, and then sure enough, he ended up interviewing me for his film Endgame, and I made it into the film, and I was like, "Whoa, that's pretty cool," because I had already been watching Alex Jones at that point for like, you know, 7 years or something when I met him in 2006. I was already a pretty big fan and inspired by him, which is kind of what inspired me to start my own thing. Um, then you'll see I started uploading a lot of footage of that Bilderberg conference. This is the Montebello event in Quebec, where we got tear gassed and we uncovered the agent provocateur situation, and then I ended up making a full length feature documentary film about it called The Nation's Deathbed. Here's my coverage of 9/11 2007. I went to New York, covered that event. That was pretty wild. Here I am talking to some Freemasons about morals and dogma. Um, that's a fun one. That was there was this huge meeting with like 33rd degree Freemasons, and here I am reading to them from Morals and Dogma, getting their thoughts on it all. Again, that's going back 18 years ago, actually 19 years. That'll update in a few days. Here's the first time I confronted a politician to their face. I've gotten pretty much all of them. Jean Chrétien, Paul Martin a number of times, Justin Trudeau like 5 times, Mark Carney. Stephen Harper's the only one I didn't get because he was like impossible to get close to. You couldn't get within 500 feet of that man. His security was so tight. But yeah, here's my first time confronting Jean Chrétien. I asked him about, his comments about the New World Order, his comments about, the possibility of Canada setting up a North American Union type of thing. Again, this is going back. This was uploaded December 9th, 2007. Yeah, crazy. Good times. Here I am covering the Masonic Temple, MTV Masonic Temple in Toronto. Here's a whole bunch of videos I did, like just going around Toronto, talking about various symbolism, occult symbolism, all around Toronto. Here's one of the first speeches that I ended up posting, June 14th, 2008. On my birthday, June 14th, we had a rally, so I gave a speech there. Here I am, first time confronting Paul Martin. About his Bilderberg attendance and about the possibility of, starting a North American Union and what he thought of that concept. And I got in front of a couple hundred people here. I was pretty nervous, got on the mic and confronted him about attending Bilderberg. And he makes some, joke comment about, oh, just because I attend Bilderberg, that doesn't mean nothing. It's like, just because I go to a Maple Leaf game doesn't mean I'm a Maple Leaf fan, and the whole crowd starts laughing. Ha ha ha. Here's The Nation's Deathbed. Back then I uploaded it in multiple parts, part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way through. This video here, Dan Dix exposing the New World Order agenda, uploaded 18 years ago. We're talking May 21st, 2009. It's a 3-parter where I just lay out everything. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Part 1, 2, and 3. I just cover like everything I had been researching for the past 10 years at that point and just laid it all out. How the New World Order works, what the occultism is all about, how false flags work, what secret societies are all about. The whole 9 yards, I just kind of went through it all. Again, this is almost 18 years ago now. Here's just some more interviews, I was doing back then for films. This was for our film United We Fall. If you haven't seen that, you can check that out. Here I am covering, events, Bill Clinton, George Bush coming to town in Toronto, again, almost 18 years ago. Interviewing KRS-One, more interviews for my films. The Nation's Deathbed, Canada Day DVD giveaway. We used to do every Canada Day, we'd go out to Yonge and Dundas with a stack of like hundreds of DVDs of my films, and we just hand them out for free. on the streets. But I mean, who watches DVDs anymore? I mean, do people even have DVD players? So that's not really a thing anymore. Press for Truth visits Washington. That was a fun one. All kinds of crazy stuff happened in that video. Walking around the Federal Reserve, you know, the Freemasonic Lodge, the White House, getting confronted left, right, and center by the feds. Here, the shot is the pandemic. Part one, talking about swine flu vaccines. And my coverage of the H1N1 vaccinations. You know, this is going back, let's see, when was this uploaded? Talking about everything that ended up becoming relevant, you know when, like 5 years ago, interviewing these people outside of the vaccine clinic. This was uploaded November 4th, 2009. Look at that. I had not a single gray hair on me back then, and probably 30 extra pounds as well. Press for Truth assaulted by security thug while covering Al Gore event. That was one of my first kind of more viewed videos. It got me on the Alex Jones show the first time I joined him, and I ended up being on his show dozens of times since then. This was a follow-up where the security guard who assaulted me ended up getting reprimanded, and I got all that on film, speaking with the head of security there. Here's a trailer for the film United We Fall. I'm not going to go through absolutely everything because there's like over 2,000 videos. This was a good one. G20, provocateurs, metal cages, and the global elite. I was talking about Mark Carney. This is like 16 years ago, warning people that this guy's an elite bankster. He can't be trusted. He's going to sell out Canadians. You know, he's tied to Goldman Sachs, which was at the time being investigated for fraud. And then I said, now he's gone on to become the governor of Bank of England and the governor of Bank of Canada. He can't be trusted. So I was warning you about Mark Carney like 16 years ago. And look where he is now. Of course, I predicted he would become the prime minister a couple of years ago at the Bilderberg conference in Spain. Here's my film, United We Fall, uploaded in multiple parts. Charlie Veach gets arrested and Luke Rudkowski denied entry into Canada, part 1 and 2. This is just footage that ended up in my film, Into the Fire. Obviously covering the G20. Here's a lot of our more coverage of the G20. Here's, another time being interviewed on the Jones Show 15 years ago here. Because of my film, United We Fall. He was carrying it in the InfoWars store. So he had me on way back then to talk about that. That was fun. Here he is. That was a 3-parter. Press for Truth confronts Officer Bubbles, the now infamous Officer Bubbles, who got in some poor little girl's face, said he was going to arrest her for blowing bubbles. There's the soundtrack to the behind the making of the music of United We Fall. Again, a lot of people might not be aware that I've done all the music for all my films. There it is, United We Fall, full film. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. It's still available here on the channel. Here's some more of the music I've been putting out over the years. Disengage is a good one. The whole world is watching. A lot of people don't know this song is what I use for the outro of all my videos. Let's see if you can hear it here. Recognize that? You might recognize this part a little more. We all want truth. And the truth shall set you free. Yeah, I wrote the song for my outro music. This is more of the part you might recognize. Anyways, yeah, that's a lot of people probably don't recognize that the way I end every one of my videos is with a little snippet from that track that I wrote for my film, Into the Fire. Disengage is a good one. I had to go a little on the heavy side, for this because it called for heavy music. You know, I'm cutting the music to the film. What's in front of me here, I'm staring at a laptop watching the scenes of the riot police like clashing with the black bloc, and I'm syncing up a lot of these kind of hits with that. This is my favorite part of the song right here. Check the chat, make sure you guys can even still hear all this. Again, movie called for some heavy music, so I wrote some heavy music. Did you guys see this stuff when it came out? Let me know. Or is this the first time you're seeing and hearing some of this stuff? Anyways, that's enough of that. Yeah, I've got all kinds of behind the music stuff you can go check out. Here it is, Into the Fire, my film that I produced, directed, scored, and was largely obviously in because the G20 was in my backyard. Here's the footage of Charlie Veach in the detention center. We got that footage just in the nick of time. We filed an Access to Information Act request, and because there was nobody in the cages at the time, they had to release the footage to us because nobody's privacy was being breached. It was only Charlie in there, so they had to give it to us, and we managed to put it into the film just in the nick of time. Here's The Nation's Deathbed full film, my first documentary film that I made. Press for Truth in Ottawa, Echelon Very Chip in the federal selection. This one was wild. Got confronted by some military men for filming Echelon, their whole Five Eyes setup there in Ottawa. This one's fun. I'm going to turn down the volume on it so I don't get a copyright strike. But this is our, what would you call it, parody of the scene in Office Space where we're destroying a TV instead of, the printer. And we do like a shot-for-shot rendition of, us. If you're familiar with the movie Office Space, you might recognize some of this type of stuff. There I am flipping over the TV, and we're just going to town on it. Obviously it sends a pretty clear message on how we feel about mainstream media and propaganda, and the fact that you need to just shut your TV off and start tuning into, independent media like Press for Truth. This is that classic scene from Office Space where I'm playing the part here as the guy who's just going to town on the TV. Yeah, Office Space parody. This was fun making stuff like this. Here's that classic part, the guy runs back and, no, I'm not done yet. Kaboom. Yeah, fun stuff. Here's Into the Fire behind the music. This is all the songs that I wrote for that film in there. Press for Truth Canada Day DVD giveaway 2011. This security guard was harassing me there pretty bad. Smashing the Pyramid one brick at a time. That was fun. Here I'm just starting to do like commentary on stuff. Just kind of walk and talk vlogs that, I was doing 14, 15 years ago. Just daily walk and talk vlogs. Just walking around, commenting on, the stuff that's happening in the world. Here's where I arrived in Korea. My film, Into the Fire, was nominated for an award at the Korean International Film Festival. They paid for everything. My flight and hotel flew me down to South Korea. So I put out a few videos of myself down there at the DMZ and, going to the award ceremony and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. Occupy Toronto. Some of you guys probably remember that coming around 14 years ago. I was covering all that pretty extensively. Yeah, this is all Occupy stuff, pretty much. Announcing Press for Truth TV. I started a new kind of subscription-based site. That went away a while ago. The case against the Bank of Canada. You guys might remember that. SOPA, the end of the internet as we know it. And then, of course, SOPA got defeated, and they reintroduced it as ACTA, and on, until finally they just got it through, I would suggest, this year with Bill C-8. This is a good one, biometric ID in the coming cashless society. If you guys seen this one, let me know. Again, this is uploaded January 18th, 2012. So just a couple of weeks after January 11th. So we're talking like almost 15 years ago here. I'm standing outside a Freemasonic lodge talking about biometric ID and the coming, you know, the future of that, how it's all going to work. And the reason why I was in front of a Masonic lodge was because there was a something called the Masonic chip, Macy chip, where the Masonic temple in Toronto was putting on this program where you could chip your children. I was showing you that you could use Faraday cages back then to block your phone from being tracked. Again, we're talking like 15 years ago. My first interview in like, you know, internet style interview was with James Corbett. And look how young we are here.
Well, thank you so much for...
And I'm very honored to be joined by my very first guest, the one and only James Corbett of the CorbettReport.com. January 27th, 2012.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much to all the people at Press for Truth TV for supporting Dan and the excellent work you're doing.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you joining us. Obviously, I've had him on like many times since then, and he's had me on many times as well. Interview here with Jason Burmis. I interviewed Alex Jones. Back then, Dan Dix interviews Alex Jones on the future of the internet. Funny enough. And then he ended up getting totally deleted and sent to the back corners of the internet. Here I am interviewing him. You know, back then he would give a guy like me, you know, the time to do an interview. I haven't reached out to him for an interview in many years. I don't know if he would now. But, you know, in the beginning, I was going for the people I, you know, admired and people who were directly involved in what I do. Corbett, Burmis, Alex Jones, Paul Watson here. You know, I started kind of contacting some of the, you know, colleagues of mine. Interestingly enough, Paul Watson, the very first interview that he ever did on his channel was with me, funny enough. I just noticed that the other day, coincidentally. I was just checking out, seeing what he's up to these days. And here, let me see if I could show you. You go to his channel. He's got 2 million subscribers now. You go to his videos. You go to the very oldest. And here's the very first video he ever put out. And then it's all just kind of commentary. And then the very first interview he ever did is right here with little old me 14 years ago. First interview he ever did on his channel. Interestingly enough. So, yeah, and then I, you know, got one with him as well at the time. Here's some of my coverage of the 9/11 Toronto hearings. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. I made a whole 6-hour DVD with that. This is Victoria Grant, the little 12-year-old girl. Again, this is 15 years ago, who went viral for exposing the Canadian banking system and how fiat currencies work and all that stuff. So I immediately reached out to her family and was like, can I do an interview with this kid? I mean, that was pretty impressive. So got that. The Money Changers Then and Now, that was a good one. Again, I'll just, oh, this is interesting. May Day. This is the very day that I met my wife, actually, at this rally. Oops. At this rally here. She was there, and it was right around here, not far from this, right here. This moment, she approached me, and she was a huge fan, and she wanted my autograph. I signed her coat. She wanted a selfie, like a picture with me. So we did that and then went our separate ways. And then she started stalking me on Facebook and relentlessly trying to meet up with me. So eventually I was like, yeah, I'll meet up with her. She seems super cool. And turns out she was, and we hit it off. And then the rest is history. There you see our, let me switch back, our wedding photo right there. So yeah, that all came about from this day right here. It was actually May 1st, 2012, but I guess I uploaded this 2 days later because it took me a while to edit things back then. But yeah, May 1st, 2012 is the day I met my wife. More interviews with Watson. Here's interviewing Luke Radowski for the first time. Look how young he looks here, both of us. Yeah, we're just kids back then. Pretty much, you know, he was probably a teenager back then. So yeah, that was fun. Here's my coverage of the Bilderberg 2020 event. That was wild. Ended up making a full-length feature documentary film about that as well. Yeah, I'll just scroll through some of these more. Again, hit me up in the chat in the comments of any moments that you've outlined that you particularly like. This is James Corbett interviewing me for his show, and again, we did dozens and dozens of those. Now I'm just kind of sitting in my new place doing commentary, also walking around in the streets doing commentary. Here's the Toronto 9/11 hearings again. Bunch of more interviews, Cynthia McKinney, David Chandler, all the guys I interviewed for the Toronto hearings. You know, I did all those interviews for this documentary film, Toronto 9/11 Truth. First time I ever confronted Justin Trudeau here, asking him if he's ever been to Bilderberg or if he would ever attend Bilderberg, you know, and got some interesting responses from him. I ended up confronting him like so many other times. This was a fun one. Mike Harris confronted on Bilderberg. His answer was kind of funny. I was just standing outside Parliament, and all of a sudden, Premier Mike Harris walks out. And I'm like, Brian, hit record. My buddy was there helping me, and he hit record, and I was already mic'd up. The timing was perfect. I just walked up to him, hey, can I get a question? And so I said this.
And that is you attended a conference, and I'm curious as to your opinions about the organization, and that is the Bilderberg Group. What sorts of things were discussed when you were there, and what do you think of Bilderberg?
Well, one of the rules of Bilderberg is that everything is private and off the record. So that's what I think of it.
Okay.
That was that.
Private and off the record. So that's what he thinks of it. Well, thank you very much, former Premier Mike Harris, for your candid honesty.
Yeah, it was like the classic Fight Club answer. You know, the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. That's what he said. You know, the first rule of Bilderberg is you don't talk about Bilderberg, and then he walks away. Here's James Corbett interviewing me about my Bilderberg film, The Turning Point. Guys, if you haven't seen The Turning Point, check it out. Here's the full film. It's still up on YouTube. Watch it while you still can before this channel gets terminated again. This is my coverage of the Bilderberg group, and specifically I get into the Canadian connection to Bilderberg. So again, if you haven't seen that one, guys, I'd strongly recommend it. The presidential selection, you know, even way back then, I was trying to warn you guys that it's two wings of the same bird. It's a false left-right paradigm. That's why when Donald Trump came around, I didn't change my tune. You know, I continued to talk about how it's all controlled. Your vote means nothing. And people started hating me for that around 2016, 2017 when they fell for the Trump hopium. And look what he's doing now. Everybody's like, oh, I was betrayed. It's like, nah, I tried to warn you. TSA meets independent media. That was a good one, confronting the TSA at the airport about what they're doing. The Turning Point soundtrack. There's all the music I wrote for that film, Turning Point. This is, interestingly, probably one of my most favorite videos I've ever made. This one definitely I will never forget, and it's probably my favorite video that I've ever produced. It's probably your first time hearing that. December 21st, 2012. What will you do? This was uploaded on December 12th, 2012. So just about a week or so before the big December 21st, 2012, moment of when the Mayan calendar said that the world is going to end. And I started interviewing all these people about what they think about that. But then I went into like, what do they think about life? How's your life going? What do you think is important to achieve in life? And then I said, what's something that you've done to make society a better place? And are there things that you could do? And then I challenged them to do a random act of kindness right then and there on the spot. And many of them, took me up on the challenge and started doing it. Again, this is probably my most favorite video that I've ever made.
Once. They've probably seen some rough stuff in their life.
The music is all my music.
I might buy a new dropped, just something small.
Here's where I challenge
1 minute, right?
Yeah.
Might give
Somebody in some sort of way, or maybe in a random act of kindness, maybe right now, in the next 1 minute, right around here. Would you accept that challenge?
Wow, you're good. You're good.
And most people did it. Yeah, again, one of the most favorite videos I've ever made. December 21st, 2012. What we would do. Go check that out. I'd like to do something like that similar again. Anyways, it goes on and on. Obviously, there's like over 2,000 videos. But yeah, maybe you'll see Sandy Hook crisis actor. This guy made a documentary film claiming that I was a crisis actor at Sandy Hook. And so I invited him on to debate him on this and to debunk him. And to say like, yeah, no, you're wrong about that, pal. This one is pretty wild. You guys may remember Enter the House of the Temple. This is when I went into the Freemasonic Lodge in Washington, D.C., and I did a tour inside the whole thing. After this tour, they shut it down. They no longer allow anybody inside this Masonic temple to do tours like I did here, because we exposed a lot of the things going on the inside here. They allowed us right in there. Here we are, sitting in their chairs. I mean, if you haven't seen this one, guys, this is another one of those classics. Enter the House of the Temple. Go check that one out. But I don't know how long I want to go on for here. There's so many. Again, let me know in the comments, like, what were some of your favorite moments, or if you have any questions about some of these, moments. Here I'm covering Bilderberg 2013 now. Still 2012, the Boston bombing stuff. I met the Boston bomber's aunt, and she broke it down all for me. Canadian foiled terror plots back then, showing you how they're manipulating us using CSIS, provocateurs and entrapment techniques. And sure enough, they've been doing that ever since, like all the time. This one scared me to upload. I got to admit, 13 years ago, almost 14 years ago now, somebody leaked footage to me of Stephen Harper, multiple takes. It was never supposed to come out to the public, of him messing up his lines. I honestly thought I was going to get a knock on the door from some CSIS agent after I released that one. But nothing ever came of it. Here I am covering Bilderberg in 2013. I did a speech here in front of like 3,000 people. I shared the stage here with David Icke and Alex Jones and a bunch of other people. Again, the crowd was absolutely massive. And I was invited to speak at this rally. Again, that was a fun one. What are you hiding from the NSA? This is the day after Edward Snowden, apparently leaked that the NSA is spying on everybody. And I started challenging these people to give up personal information. Would they be willing to? Started asking them questions like, what's your mom's maiden name? What's your bank account number? What's the last thing you Googled? And they started becoming uncomfortable. And I was like, this is what the government is doing. First time I interviewed David Icke on Satanism and demonic possession. And I've interviewed him a ton of times since then. And we've hung out a number of times. We've gone to dinner together a bunch of times since then. But what a lot of people don't know about this particular interview back then is that I was not in such an obvious way trying to allude to the fact that I felt that he himself was being influenced by demonic entities. And I make that connection in this interview, and I hope people recognized it. But I don't know if David caught on to what I was really actually trying to suggest in this interview. So if you haven't seen that one, guys, definitely check that one out. Yeah. Exposing the global elite with Bill Vanderzam. That was a fun interview. Bill Vanderzam, the former premier of British Columbia, invited me to his house to give a whole, he just wanted to break down the whole New World Order agenda from his perspective. That was pretty wild. Yeah, I'm going to go back to the chat soon, interviewing Peter Schiff, you know, the gold bug. It's 12 years ago. Wading through the waters of Fukushima. That was an interesting one. I've, got myself like a Geiger counter. I'm out on the shores of Vancouver picking up radiation levels and stuff. Adam Kokesh on why he's a douche. I ran into him at CPAC, and he was saying some nasty stuff about me online. So my first question is, why are you a douche? And that's what I titled the video, Adam Kokesh on why he's a douche. We've made up since then. Let's just say that. But if you haven't seen that one, go check it out. It's kind of funny. Dan Dix gets kicked out of CPAC. Yeah, they kicked me out. That was interesting. Interviewing Stefan Molyneux. If you don't know Stefan Molyneux from Free Domain Radio, you should know who he is. He's done some good work. I've met him a number of times, interviewed him. My second time confronting Paul Martin, again on mic in front of a whole bunch of people. This is interesting. The future of cryptocurrencies. I did this video like 13 years ago, and it's with this guy. Andreas Antonopoulos, and I did, a big long interview with him. I filmed his presentation, and then I interviewed him. And back then, he was talking about how the future of cryptocurrencies is not just going to be Bitcoin. There's going to be all these altcoins. Anybody will start to launch their own coin. And sure enough, everything we talked about in this interview here ended up coming true, like to a T. It was pretty wild. Here's the first time me and Luke got arrested at a Bilderberg, 2014 Bilderberg in Copenhagen, Denmark. These security thugs, like, physically manhandled me, called the police on me, and we ended up getting arrested and thrown in a cell in Denmark, all because we confronted the steering committee. These ladies here were on the steering committee of the Bilderberg group. We confronted them in the lobby of the hotel, and then security surrounded us, and as you see here, they're like physically grabbing me and detaining me. They're just hotel security guys. Tried to tell them they don't have authority to do this. Tried to get away from them, but they, slammed the door on me, held me down until the police arrived. Here's the police sticking his finger in my face before he took me into a cell and locked me up. And then everybody got on Twitter and hashtag free dicks started going viral, and a whole bunch of people started contacting the jail that I was in and saying, release this guy, and call after call and after call and after call. And I could just see these police officers at the station in Denmark going like, who is this guy in jail over here? And then they eventually let me go. So that was all thanks to you guys, you, the viewers, that was able to get me out of that one. That was pretty cool. More Bilderberg coverage, confronting the chairman of Goldman Sachs, Peter Sutherland. That was a good one. The Moncton shooter rampage. I went down there to cover it live when that happened. The Moncton shooter. Here's interviewing Steve Forbes, Lord Christopher Moncton, Mark Morano. This is what I was at a conference. Again, Peter Schiff, bunch of stuff. Doug Casey here. If you're not familiar with these guys, you should be. Walter Block, he's a legend. Interviewed him a bunch of times. Here I am on InfoWars again after I was, just talking about the police state rising, the Ottawa shooting, questions of a false flag, everything that happened at Parliament there. I interviewed Jesse Ventura here, and I broke it up into like a bunch of parts. Evolution of the New World Order, Jesse Ventura on man-made climate change, Jesse Ventura on salary caps. I expose him in this interview for being like a socialist, basically. Jeffrey Tucker, another good interview. And then, just obviously all the same kind of stuff, boots on the ground coverage. The Paris shooting, going out in the streets of Vancouver, asking people what they think about that. The Trudeau deception trailer. Here is was a short little documentary film that I released exposing Justin Trudeau before he came into power, trying to warn everybody about this guy. Here's my interview with Bill Still. I'm in my new apartment in Vancouver. Bill Still, of course, made The Money Masters. That is a phenomenal documentary that everybody has to watch. This guy, it's like a 4-hour long film where he just breaks down how fiat currencies work. So I wanted to interview him about all that stuff. So I did that way back in the day. The vaccine campaign exposed. That was a good one. Me and Luke and Corbett over here in Acapulco at one of the Anarchapulco events. This is my first speech at Anarchapulco there. I've been invited back like 12 times since then. Gave a bunch of speeches. Anyways, it goes on and on, obviously. There's 20 years of stuff like exposing false flags, Canadian terror plots exposed as the RCMP setup and CSIS setup. I'm going to go back to your chats soon. But, and again, let me know if I'm missing anything. Interviewing Ben Swan there about the new independent media, rise of independent media. Coverage of the Bilderberg meeting in 2015 in Austria. Confronting the police about the fact that they're entering our hotel rooms and stuff. So many things. Lauren Southern, I interviewed her back, this is like over a decade ago when she was just a teenager, relatively unknown to everybody. I was one of the first people to start kind of putting her out there. And, we did a lot of work together since that. It was the first time I confronted, no, second or third time I confronted Justin Trudeau on Bill C-51. That was a good one because we actually had a little conversation. Yeah, a few more interviews. This is part of my deception series. The Trudeau deception, the Harper deception, the Mulclair deception, the May deception. I broke all of them down in this one, the democracy deception. I'm really happy with how that one turned out. If you haven't seen that, I mean, it's still worth going back and checking out. It's just weird to reminisce on all this stuff. Here's when I got my studio in Vancouver. And my first in-studio guest was David Whitehead. I barely had the studio set up at the time. And this was my first in-studio guest. And then since then, I went on to do a whole bunch of shows. Back when I had a studio, I was going live once a week. And I was banging out a ton of videos back then from the studio. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, what else we got? There's more Anarchapulco stuff. Here's the viral video. Lauren Southern being attacked by Antifa. Bilderberg 2016 again. Here's an example of, what my studio setup eventually, started looking like. Here's an interview I did with James. I'm here kind of, I've got the whole setup there. It was great having that studio for while I had it, but eventually the city tore the building down, put up a condo in there, and the business partner I was working with at the time ended up, moving out of the country, and everything kind of fell apart. But I mean, for a time there, I had this studio, and it was awesome. If I had kept that up, this was over 10 years ago. To this point today, maybe I wouldn't have been quite as stunted in growth as I have been. What caused the Fort McMurray fire? That video went viral. Anyways, guys, this is probably getting boring. I'm just reminiscing about all these old times. Oh, man, the police tried to sue me here for showing their faces in Germany. And I had to blur their faces out. And you could do so after the fact, which is an interesting thing that YouTube allowed me to do. Here I'm confronting a Bilderberg steering committee member and billionaire bankster Jacob Wallenberg. He didn't know I was filming at the time. He wouldn't speak to me, but he said, if you shut that camera off, I'll speak to you. And so I showed him that I shut it off, and then I secretly hit record again. And boom, I had this nice long walk and talk with him, talking about everything that goes on at Bilderberg. That was a good one. Yeah, goes on and on. How do the Rothschilds feel about Brexit? That got over 500,000 views. That went viral. Again, I'm going to go back to the chat soon. We'll see your comments and questions about all this. So this is covering the RNC in these guys walking around with open carry. There was like guns everywhere. It was pretty wild. You know, I made a lot of videos about that back then, interviewing like Vermin Supreme, boot on head guy. I interviewed like Geraldo Rivera and actress Ashley Judd and all these people who were showing up back then. Cory Booker, you know, almost a decade ago, interviewing him. Now he's popping up all the time. He's one of the attendees at Dialogue, which I was supposed to cover, but I didn't get a chance to do so. Canadians love their New World Order. This is me and Josh Sigurdsson from World Alternative Media going around in the streets of Vancouver, kind of getting people to admit to the fact that they would be in favor of a New World Order. That's a funny one. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Interviewing Dylan Avery. He is the creator of Loose Change, you know, a film that largely inspired me. Yeah, Tim Hortons doesn't want you to see the truth. This is when I was banned. Press for Truth was banned from Tim Hortons. This was 9 years ago. You weren't allowed to go on Press for Truth's website in any Tim Hortons Wi-Fi. So I did a video on that. That was a good video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. George Soros and the Canadian Connection, another good one. If you haven't seen that. Here I went to the Standing Rock protest in like Denmark. All the boots on the ground coverage. The Trudeau Foundation exposed. That was a good one. You know, a lot of people didn't know about his connections to China and the pay-to-play politics that was happening back then. I exposed it all like a decade ago. Yeah, here's where I went to Quebec in the face of the mosque shooting, doing interviews with people on the streets, doing video reports, boots on the ground reporting about that. Interviews with G. Edward Griffin and Larkin Rose and a bunch of guys. John and Lily on the run. That was a good video. He's dead now, unfortunately. Ended up being killed in Acapulco, Mexico. Yeah, goes on and on. There's so many things. And then, of course, the channel got, you know, terminated in 2020. And here's Bilderberg 17. These are all a whole bunch of people that confronted at Bilderberg. Larry Summers, Bill Morneau, the former finance minister. This guy, you know, these guys, these are all confrontations with Bilderberg members at the airport. This is when Bill C-16 was first coming out. I'm interviewing people at a pride parade about pronouns, and, you know, this is a lesbian couple with their kid there, and I kind of, you know, pressured them about what they're doing. Yeah, again, we're still only like up to 8 years ago here. This one, look at this one. 1.9 million views. You never know which ones are going to go mega viral. This one, I was exposing a declassified military document that you can see there and showing how it all works and how your phone is tracking you. Again, that got 1.9 million views. Again, I could never predict which ones were going to go viral. Sometimes I would put so much effort into a video. Like, I'd work on it for days and days and, you know, maybe a week straight and put it out, and I'd get like hardly any views at all. And then the next day I'd whip together something that took me like an hour to put together, and I didn't really feel it was all that great. And then it goes mega viral. I'm like, okay. I don't understand, but whatever. That's just how that goes. This is YouTube starting to shut me down like 8 years ago, long before I officially got terminated. Here's another interview with David Icke. Kevin Smith, I interviewed the director of, a whole bunch of movies, the guy from Silent Bob and all that. I ran into him on the street and asked him for an interview, and he's like, "Sure, let's do it." That was just by chance. Um, yeah, these are all old videos, but all good ones, exposing Canadian terrorism operations. Yeah, go back and look through the archives, guys. There's so many crazy moments that have come and gone, and a lot of people probably haven't seen them. There's a lot of people who only subscribed in like recent years. I haven't gone back and looked back at all the kind of old stuff, like all this stuff. Again, I don't want to spend too much time. Another Anarchapulco. A lot of the stuff, that really wild stuff that happened, was on my live streams that, we haven't even looked at that stuff. This one, going around in Vancouver interviewing people about gun rights. This is a song I wrote. James Corbett is not on Twitter. An acoustic song I wrote and sang and played the guitar, singing about James Corbett leaving Twitter. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It's called James Corbett is Not on Twitter by Dan Dix. Exclusive rare footage inside of a massive Bitcoin mining operation. Again, almost 9 years ago. That was a fun video. Check that one out if you haven't seen it. Yeah, this is when I started working with I hired a guy to make thumbnails for me back then. I was paying him like $500 a month to just make a thumbnail for me anytime I needed one. And yeah, they started looking pretty good. But then he kind of flaked out and stopped working with them and just figured out how to make good looking thumbnails myself. And I was already a one-man show by this point, doing all the editing, the filming, the research, and all that. This is probably the best speech I ever done, maybe. The Truth About the Endgame, my speech at Anarchapulco in 2018. If you haven't seen it, it's, probably, like I said, one of the best speeches I've ever given. Up until maybe the one I just did earlier this year. In February of this year in Puerto Vallarta. Yeah, this goes on and on and on and on and on. It's weird. I can look back on almost any day. Here's an interview with Tim Pool almost 8 years ago, talking about fascism on the left and fascism on the right. This is back when, he wasn't as big as he is now. And, like back then, we talked all the time on private messages and Twitter. He invited me to his house for dinner and stuff. And then once he got big and he blew up, I remember he mentioned me because I was going viral. And he talked like as if, we'd never met or don't know each other. And I was like, okay, that's a little weird, but whatever, dude. Yeah. Covering Maxime Bernier. I was the first guy to interview him. When he announced his party. I flew right down to Ottawa immediately, sat down for this one-on-one sit-down interview. Again, I was the first guy to do so. This was uploaded September of 2018, immediately after he launched it. So that was a good one. Watching the Watchers, again, down at that Echelon facility in Ottawa. This is when I got terminated from Facebook. Yeah, I had 390,000 followers on my Facebook channel, my Facebook page, and then they terminated my account. And RT wanted to invite me on to talk about that, so I went down to the RT studios and did a live interview with them to talk about how Facebook is censoring guys like me. This was uploaded October of 2018. So that's around the time I started noticing the heavy shadow banning and the fact that I was going to be censored. And that's why I joined all the alternative platforms like Minds and BitChute and eventually Rumble and Odyssey and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, a lot of interviews with my friend Lee. She became a PFT correspondent, was doing a lot of coverage for me in Toronto as a PFT correspondent. So we were doing a lot of videos together back then. Yeah, go back into all these archives. And some of these might stand out. I'm just skimming over, obviously. You'll be like, oh, I remember that one. That one was crazy. But, I mean, I don't have time to go through it all. There's thousands and thousands of videos. This is probably already getting boring for you guys. I'm just like going down memory lane here, reminiscing about all these crazy, crazy moments. Yeah, I got a letter from the RCMP here about the mosque shooting. That one was pretty wild. Interviewing a hip hop legend, Sendog from Cypress Hill. That was pretty wild. I was on stage with them for the entire concert. Like, that was fun. And then I interviewed Cypress Hill, like, after it. This one was fun with Curtis Stone, how to 5G proof your house. If you haven't seen that one, check it out. I went and visited him at his home and did a whole video about how he was 5G proofing his house. That one was cool. Detained and thrown in a cell. Welcome to Bilderberg 2019. More confrontations with Bilderberg, top Bilderberg guys. Here's where they shut me down. Urgent. Need your help. I'm being censored. I'm being shut down. This is a great interview, guys. If you haven't seen this one, definitely check this one out. The KGB agent who predicted everything. You guys have probably heard of Yuri Bezmenov. Here he is. I edited together this slick little video of some of his interview. But what a lot of people don't know is the guy who was interviewing Yuri Bezmenov about how societies are being manipulated was G. Edward Griffin. There he is, right there, interviewing him. So many years later, when I was attending the Red Pill Expo, I interviewed G. Edward Griffin about that interview. And it's a fascinating breakdown, guys. Again, if you haven't seen it, check it out. The KGB agent who predicted everything is the title of that one. This is when me and Lee went to the Straight Pride Parade in Boston. That was going to be held there. That was pretty wild. I wore a white t-shirt that said, "It's okay to be straight," and went out into the streets interviewing people about it. Some people were upset. Some people fully agreed. They got it. They understood what I was doing. But yeah, just some of the many fun times. Oh man, being attacked by Wax My Balls or Else, Jessica Yonif. You guys probably remember that. This guy like assaults me, calls 911, pulls a fire alarm in the elevator. It was just insane. Getting into the Epstein coverage from almost 7 years ago now. And yeah, on and on it goes. Again, good times. I'm not going to obviously slow down anytime soon. And as I was saying before, and I got distracted, it's weird. I can look back on pretty much any date in time over the last 20 years and see what I looked like and, what was I doing on that particular day, because no more than a week has ever really gone by where I'm not producing videos. So it's weird. I got this like snapshot of my life. Like I could go back any year, any month and be like, what was I talking about and what did I look like and what were things like back then? I hope this is not getting too boring for you guys. Just, reminiscing about old times here and going back through the old videos. Here's the very first videos I put out on COVID. Like, look at the date of this. I don't know of anybody else who was covering this, earlier than I was. What's this? This one is dated January of 2020. January 23rd, 2020 for that one. And this one might have been even sooner. Talking about, COVID, coronavirus. This one was, January 24th, 2020. And then obviously that's what led to my channel eventually being terminated after being on there for so many years. More interviews with James Corbett, more interviews with Jason Burmis, and here's the COVID coverage. Interviewed Ron Paul like probably 5 or 6 times. He's a really solid guy. I don't have enough good things to say about Ron Paul. I mean, he's just an absolute legend. More interviews with Corbett. You know, me and Corbett have done interviews together back and back many times, many times. I'm getting attacked by a group of feminists at a rally once, and then I was assaulted and arrested at the BLM rally. You guys probably remember that. That's one of my most viewed live streams. But yeah, I don't know. Again, it just goes on. And then there's a number of years missing because I was terminated. First time I started interviewing Billboard Chris over 5 years ago. He ended up flaking out and blocking me on Twitter because I questioned him about his stance on Trump bombing Iran, and he didn't like that, and so he blocked me after I interviewed him a dozen times, promoted him over the last 5 years. But yeah, he's a bit of a douche himself. Yeah, too many stuff to go over. It's literally like close to 3,000 videos over the last 5 years, and that's just on YouTube. There was other platforms. One time, I went 18 months straight doing a video every single day without fail. That was probably back in like 2012, I'm going to say, 2013 maybe. I, without fail, 18 months straight, a whole year and a half of doing daily videos. Every now and then I would do one that I didn't feel was necessarily YouTube worthy, so it would get posted on pressfortruth.tv at the time. But I was still banging out daily videos, and I didn't miss a single day for 18 months straight. That was pretty wild. I was pretty gung-ho back then. I've always been gung-ho ever since, but I mean, I really went big back then. And of course, it just goes on and on and on. There's too many things. Like I lose track of all the crazy moments over the years. There's just too many things. Ottawa coverage, that was absolutely intense. You know, when I got like cracked in the rib by the cops, I did a 7-hour live stream that went very viral, and that was crazy coverage. It's first time questioning Pierre Poilievre about Soji 123, asking him to define a woman. If you haven't seen that, check it out. Covering Elon Musk and my thoughts on that guy, trying to warn you guys about, not falling for him. The Kamloops mass grave stuff being exposed. Now we're getting closer to some stuff that most of you guys watching now might actually remember. Look at the beard on me here. Grew a big long beard for a little while. And I'll grow it back eventually someday. But I'll keep it short for now, for my mom's sake. Hi, Mom, if you're watching. She's my biggest fan. Anyways, too much stuff. Goes on and on and on, obviously. And then, yeah, there's all the live stream stuff that I did too. Here's confronting Peter Thiel just last year. Wow, we're already up to last year. Oh, that's because we skipped 5 years worth of stuff from when the channel was terminated. Gave a big speech at Bilderberg in that video. If you haven't seen my confrontation with Peter Thiel, check that one out, guys. That was a fun one. Here's me confronting Mark Carney about the fact that he took his daughter to the infamous Tavistock Gender Clinic. She came out as non-binary. Got him to his face and then surrounded by his security guards and threatened with arrest. And then, yeah, this is a lot more recent stuff, the Charlie Kirk stuff. Now we're getting into, yeah, just like, recent stuff. This is the backup channel here that I launched. If you go to the oldest tab, this is Press for Truth, Dan Dick's PFT. And the very first video I put out here is Dan Dick's Censored. The Press for Truth YouTube channel has been permanently deleted. So if you guys have only been following me on this channel that you're watching this on now, there's 5 years of stuff that when I wasn't on this particular channel, my main channel, I was uploading it all right here on the backup channel, and also on Rumble and BitChute and Minds and Odyssey and everything. So people didn't even know about my backup channel here for the longest time. And they were like, Dan, you disappeared. It's like, no, I have a backup channel. I'm on all these other platforms. So yeah, you could go back into the archives of this, and there's probably a lot of stuff that you missed over the last 5 years in particular that can all be found here. I've got a link for all of this in the description, the main channel and the backup channel. So if you want to look back at some of the stuff you might have missed over the last 5 years, it's all here, as you can see. Interestingly enough, guys, my most recent video, I've started uploading to both my main channel and my backup channel. And this one here, the $15,000 mission to firebomb a synagogue that wasn't anti-Semitism. This just goes to show you how they're still messing with me on this channel. I tried to monetize it on my main channel, and it says, look at this. Hi, Press for Truth. After manually reviewing your video, we've confirmed that it isn't suitable for all advertisers. We're not gonna run ads on this. Again, this is this video here. But on my backup channel, hi, Dandix Press for Truth PFT. Great news! We have determined that your video is suitable for all advertisers. So every video on my main channel is not monetized, but every video on my backup channel is monetized. But I mean, I only get like a couple hundred views per video on the backup channel, where I get, you know, thousands of views per video on the main channel. They will not, they say this is not acceptable for advertisers when it's on my main channel, but when it's on my backup channel, it is suitable for advertisers. Like, talk about like financial shadow banning. You know what I mean? It's just absolutely crazy and ridiculous. Anyways, guys, that's a bit of a roundup of some of the stuff over the years. Here's all the live stuff. You know, let's look at what are the most popular live streams. Was, you know, the Freedom Convoy. That was absolutely insane. This is the moment I was attacked and arrested, covering that BLM rally. All sorts of live stuff. You know, and this is also where you'll get a lot of my stuff from the studio days. Like, it was all, you know, all the best stuff was done live. If you go back far enough, you'll see that stuff. Let's see. Wow, you got to go pretty far back, because I had that studio like almost, you know, 10 years ago now. Anyways, you can find it, I'm sure. But yeah, that's a big long look back at some of the crazier moments, covering Bilderberg, covering, you know, boots on the ground stuff, getting arrested, getting beaten up, getting attacked, doing interviews for various shows, interviewing, you know, friends of mine in the movement, doing speeches, traveling the world, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So a wild 20 years. I still can't believe today is the 20th anniversary. It's just shocking to me. All right, I'm going over to the comments. Bear with me for 1 second, because I've noticed my laptop battery is starting to die. I should have thought of that, but I'm going to go grab the plug right now and plug it in so we can keep this going. Let's see if this is going to reach. Oh, doesn't quite reach. I'm like inches off from this reaching. Okay, we're going to get close. There we go. Come on. Oh no, it's got to go in on the other side. Stupid Mac. All right, I might have to try to figure out a different plug situation. I'm sure I got an extension cord that I can grab, but we'll worry about that momentarily, I guess. I've got enough juice for now to keep going, so let me go back into the chat and see how far I got to scroll back. First of all, let me just check the live stream and see how we're doing. Yeah, 49 people watching. Again, this is a channel with 285,000 subscribers, and I have 49 people watching. Obviously, that does not add up. It just goes to show just how shadow banned I have been over the years, and it would just makes me wonder how big Press for Truth could be or could have been if I wasn't so heavily shadow banned and censored on this particular platform and others. You know, it's a shame. But I've never let it discourage me. I've always just continued to plug away. And I know that, you know, people like you are going to have my back. Again, if you've been watching for 20 years, amazing. Thank you. And if you're new here, thank you as well for being here. And again, I would encourage you to subscribe to me on other platforms by visiting here, pressfortruth.ca/subscribe. Get me on BitChute, Odyssey, Bastion, Minds, Rumble, and Hive. And you can also find that at the top of my website. Here's my most recent interview with James Corbett, Dan Dix on the digital dystopia of Canada, breaking down Bill 8, Bill C8, Bill C9, the Aboriginal title claim situation, just a general breakdown of the tyranny we're going through in Canada right now. But at the top, you'll see links up here for YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, and then my social media like Instagram and Twitter. My Twitter's been doing pretty good. I've got 177,000 followers now. It's been blowing up for the most part. Here I just pinned today's live stream. So yeah, if you're not following me on Twitter, I do a lot of stuff there. So yeah, you can go check that out as well. But let me get back to some of your comments and questions. See how far back I have to scroll through here. So let me just go back to where we left off, and I'll start covering some of your comments and questions here. Let's see. Wow, I got to scroll back quite a bit. You guys have been putting in a lot. Okay, here we go. I think I remember seeing some of these. Okay, congratulations on 20 years. Fight the good fight. Happy Independence Day. Yep, interesting, coincidental timing. Let's see. Okay, these are all new. Feeling old, remembering Dan's journey. 20 freaking years, sheesh. Harris, 9081. Yeah, that's how I feel right now. I know, 20 years is crazy. Congrats on 20 years. Dan, are you aware of the change in title of Crown, I assume, KC3 from Supreme Governor of Church of England to add protect space for faith within multi-faith nation? Caliphate incoming. Canada constitutionality. No, not exactly, but I remember when the king officially took the reins, I did a video on how he's supposed to uphold the Church of England, interestingly enough, and that he wasn't going to do so. Yeah, go check that stuff out. Let me see if I can find some of those for you. Yeah, there's let me just do a search on my website. Oh, I'll show you what I'm doing. Hang on. Go do a search for King Charles and see what we get. King Charles just announced digital ID. King Charles arrives in Canada. King Charles III and the kingdom that he serves exposed. That's the one that I'm talking about. King Charles III, what you need to know. Here I break down all his connections to guys like Jimmy Savile and Epstein. And yeah, the search feature on my website is a good thing to use if you're not familiar with that. But also the search feature on my Press for Truth YouTube channel. So if you just go straight to here, you go to this little icon right here, and you type in something like King Charles, or any topic that you're curious. Have I ever covered it in the past? What have I ever had to say about this particular thing? Just type it in right here, hit enter, and boom, you're going to find all the videos that I've done that are related to that particular topic. So yeah, the search feature here on YouTube is worthwhile if you want to catch up on some things that I've covered in the past, or if you're ever wondering, I wonder what Dan has had to say about this, or I wonder what he's had to say about that. All right, I'm going to go back to your chats, but I'm getting very slow on the battery, so let me quickly see if I can figure this out. Bear with me 1 second here. Okay. All right, I found an extension cord. All right, let's get this plugged in before the power drops and I lose you all. Okay, we are good. We are plugged in and good to go. All right, I'm not going to keep going for too much longer, guys. We're getting on to what, almost 2 hours now, and you're probably already bored enough. This is, again, just like a trip down memory lane type of stream, but you know, 20 years is quite the feat. I'm still kind of shocked it's all gone by so fast and so many things have happened. We were warned. Awesome, Dan, with music notes and a guitar. Thank you. Yeah, here, like, go to, here's another example. Go to my YouTube channel, type in the word music, and hit search. And look at that. United We Fall soundtrack, behind the making of the film. Into the Fire, behind the music. All those songs I wrote for that. The Turning Point soundtrack by Dan Dix. It's in Your Hand, guitar track by Dan Dix. You're going to find a lot of my music here. The Whole World Is Watching. Detained. You know, this is another, you know, acoustic track that I wrote. Let's see. I got a lot of music on here. Anyways, it's all written for my films, you know. That's why they have certain vibes to them. This was a pretty little ditty that I wrote a long time ago. This was uploaded. Oh, okay, a little more recently. I guess I reminded people about the fact that I put this out. Anyways. It's in the key of open C for any guitar players out there. But yeah, in particular, watch Into the Fire behind the music. That's one of the coolest ones. If you're a musician, you're interested in, you know, what I've done music-wise over the years, go check out that one in particular. And again, you could find that on my website or my YouTube channel. Let me go back to the chat. Speaking with the Illuminati, I heard that when people look at the faces, are they worshipped? Owls of some kind, and then you've got aliens and their faces look like owl faces. Interesting. Never really heard of their faces looking like owl faces, but thanks for the heads up. Rock and roll. First time, man. Nice. Thank you, Cody. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that I do all the music for all my films and all my videos and stuff like that. I watch DVDs still when and if I watch a movie. Interesting. Wow. You know what? I got boxes and boxes of DVDs sitting in storage of stuff that I've never sold because I had, I used to sell all my films on DVD. And so I got to figure out what to do with them. I'm just going to give them away, at an event or something. Awesome guitarist, says CCN Cross Canada News. Thank you. Appreciate it. Harris says, I remember when all of this came out. Can't believe how long ago it was now. You're probably commenting a long time ago about something. There wasn't that many doing this back then. Dan's a pioneer, says Harris. Thank you. Office Space is a great movie. Yeah, that's from my parody, I guess. Carnivore, excellent work, Dan. Thank you. That documentary, Into the Fire, did they play Sarah McLachlan's song, Into the Fire? That's hilarious. We used to joke about that after the film came out. Her weird little Into the Fire. Yeah, that was a running joke for a little while. But no, they did not. We did not. Good on James. Ha ha ha, look at the babies. Yep, we were young back then. You age a lot when I'm like 47 now. Started this channel when I was 27. A lot has changed in those years. Tell everyone to stop the denominations of Christianity. Just follow Jesus and his teachings, says Mike McKenzie. Good advice. I would go even further. Don't worry about Christianity at all, per se. Christianity is why we had things like the Crusades and the Salem witch trials and the Inquisition. And that tells you nothing about Jesus, and it tells you everything about hypocritical Christians who have given it a bad name over the years. So I would take it a step further and says, don't worry about Christianity per se. And yes, go to the source documents if you want to learn about Jesus himself. That being Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the four Gospels that are historical context of the very real man who lived, taught, lived out how he taught, and then died and rose from the dead. I mean, obviously, he's the most influential, important figure in the history of mankind. This is the year 2026. Why? Where do we get that number from? Yeah, it's because 2026 years ago was this man's life, and everything's based around that. The Bible is the most interpreted, most translated, most top-selling book of all time. So, I mean, at the very least, it's worth going to the source documents that have been proven to be historically accurate, by the way. And that being Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and learn about who he was, how he lived his life, how he treated people, and, don't take it from Christians or various denominations, as you say. Go directly to the source documents, that being the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. All right. I think that's when I started listening to you and all the courageous truth seekers and tellers, says Bob Katie. Somebody says, wow, nice. I'm not sure if you're referring to some of the tunes, maybe. This is wonderful that I caught a live stream with Press for Truth. I love your work, Dan. Thank you for all you do for us, says Broke-Ass Canadian. A lot of us can relate with that name, that's for sure. I certainly ain't no Alex Jones or Tim Pool. I'm sitting in a little basement apartment that I'm, renting right now, trying to You know, like people think like Press for Truth is some major operation and I have people working for me and stuff. It's literally just me. I'm a one-man show. I do all the research, I do all the filming, I do all the editing. When I'm done a video, I got to make the thumbnail, I come up with the title, I write the description, I edit the thing. I got to promote it through various, social media platforms that I run all of. I upload it to 8 different platforms, and it's me. I've had various people who I've worked with over the years who have kind of come and gone, like way back in the 2007 to 2012 era. I was working with a couple of guys, Steve and Brian, and the 3 of us are the ones who put together all those documentary films. But I moved to Vancouver a long time ago. They kind of went their own ways, and I've just been full-time doing everything by myself since then. If you guys hear some of that barking, I can introduce you to some of my little buddies who have made it onto the show a number of times. This here is Tony. He's a 7-year-old Maltese. I just noticed my phone number is on his tag, so I should probably cover that up. But yeah, this is little Tony. He's an excellent little guy. Right, buddy? Sorry to disturb you from your slumber. He was barking because he wanted up into the bed, but I'm a little busy doing a live stream. So yeah, that's Tony. 420 Tony is his actual name because his birthday is April 20th. And that was his name when we got him. That's what the breeder had him listed as. And, my wife at the time was like, 420 Tony, let's go check him out. And so, yeah, he came into our lives. And then there's also Kaiser Sose. This is Kaiser Sose. Kaiser for short. My wife wanted to name him after the Usual Suspects character, Kaiser Sose. And this is him. He is now 11 years old, getting up there. Little Kaiser, my bestest buddy. So yeah, I got a 7-year-old Maltese named Tony and a 12-year-old Havanese named Kaiser. And these guys they've been in a number of my videos before. You may have seen them. Yeah, dogs are so awesome. They're just like the best things ever. And for anybody who's wondering, like, why no kids? Why the fur babies? Well, I would like to know as well. We've been trying for a long, long time. We both want children. We're working on it. It's just, we've probably been bombarded by, chemical poisoning from the food and the air and the water. And we're 2 of those kind of Gen X people who are in Generation X who got caught up in the slow kill depopulation agenda. We're still fingers crossed and praying, and if it is God's will that will happen, then it will happen, and that'll be an exciting day. But I get that question a lot, so. All right, let me get back to your comments and questions. I think if you chip your children or make them wear a mask, that is considered abuse in my eyes. I agree. KLN5, V5M, absolutely. The illusion of democracy, says Moon Sipeth or something. Yep. Democracy is an illusion. It's the illusion of choice, making you think that, you actually have a say with your vote, when I think the last time in America for sure that there were any real elections was JFK. Like when he started going against the banksters, they executed him in broad daylight like that to send a message to everybody else out there that, like, if you're gonna challenge us who run the show, this is what's gonna happen to you. And I think every president since him has been largely controlled, and that includes the current one today. To which extent he understands he's a puppet of the global elite, that can certainly be debated, but he is nonetheless. You don't get to the position of president of the United States in this day and age unless the powers that ought not be have allowed you to get into that position of power. That's just where we're at in things, in the grand scheme of things. All right. Thanks for all your work over the years. Wishing you all the best from the Alberta Oil Patch. Thank you. Really appreciate it. The grand illusion has been going on for too long. The technology has allowed them to infest people's minds. Something that this was near impossible way back when. I think the tech is dark magic, says, what would Jesus do? Word. WWJD word. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the tech is dark magic. It seems like some of the AI these days is purely demonic. I mean, it's just crazy where things are going with all of this. PFT, the truth matters, says, hey, it's D-Man. Yep, Bill Vanderzam interview is definitely one of my favorites from Dan, says Carnivore. I've interviewed him a couple of times, once about the New World Order and chemtrails, and then another time about COVID specifically. A couple times I've been to his house for an interview. Facts over fear. You need to add Solana wallet to your donations page. Yeah, I guess I could do that. I've added most of the ones there because people have done exactly that. They've emailed me and said, if you had this wallet, I would donate this. Or if you had this. So I was like, okay. And some people have. So that's a great way to contribute. Congrats on 20 years. Cyber Canuck, thank you. Dan, memories of Bilderberg vids. Documentaries, great work. Was watching 2022 live brutal assault in Ottawa. Freedom Convoy by that baton-wielding cop. Harsh memory. Yeah, for you and me both. I mean, I was dealing with the pain from that for a couple of years. Like, I couldn't sleep on my side. When I'd wear a seatbelt in my car, it would irritate that rib. That was brutal. But that's what you get sometimes when you cover this kind of stuff. If you're just tuning in, I'll remind you I was supposed to cover dialogue next month. And the dialogue conference got canceled because of the recent leak. And unfortunately, me and my friend already booked an Airbnb that's non-refundable. So I'm in the hole now for 800 euros. Actually 400 because I'm splitting it with my friend. So once again, if you do want to help out with covering that, it really sucks that happened, but it is what it is. Go to pressfortruth.ca/donate. You can do the Patreon alternative. You can still join me on Patreon if you're into that. But a better place is to do so here or Subscribestar by clicking there. It'll take you to my Subscribestar. Of course, you can donate Bitcoin by clicking on that. It'll give you my, a Bitcoin address that you can contribute to there. PayPal is another option. You just go here, you click send. It'll ask you, how much you want to send. You'll have to log in. E-transfers is a great way to go, especially for Canadians. It's simple, it's fast, it's low fees, and I will get most of whatever you send. And then, of course, there's the P.O. Box, where you guys can send actual stuff, cash, checks, equipment, and words of encouragement as well. So yeah, again, it would help me with this whole dialogue mix-up and getting screwed over by Airbnb. But again, also, it's how I earn a living, and I'm able to continue banging out videos daily for you guys. Again, you don't have to donate if it's not within your means. Certainly don't do so. But if you can afford $5, $10, $1 or $2, whatever, maybe 100, maybe 1,000. Some people have donated like in those kind of numbers before in the past, and I'm very greatly appreciative for those kinds of contributions. Again, that's what keeps this going, is your input coming directly from you, the viewers. Because as I've already showed you, I can't rely on YouTube anymore. I can't rely on, Google or anything like that. I would much rather rely on, my finances coming directly from you, the viewers anyways, to kind of hold me accountable to you. That's a fantastic relationship. So if you've donated before in the past, thank you so much for your donation. But if you haven't, now would be a great day especially considering it's my, let's call it 20th birthday for Press for Truth. And also because I just got dinged for attempting to cover dialogue, but getting screwed over on that a little bit. But let me go back to the comments and questions, and then I may wrap this up. We've probably been going over a couple of hours now. All of your work is greatly appreciated, Dan. It's rare in these new times to get truth out of anyone. Thank you, Carnivore. It looks like you are a member joined on YouTube, so really appreciate that. Thank you so much for your monthly reoccurring contribution. 20 more years of PFT, says Love for God. Yep, that there is going to be that for sure. I'm not slowing down anytime soon. You know, this is my life's work, my life's mission now. There's no turning back. I'm in this for the long haul, guys. You can count on me, that's for sure. And I will be censored again in the future. But again, that's why you need to go to pressfortruth.ca/subscribe and join me on all these other channels, because this channel is going to get deleted again at some point, and I really don't want to hear people being like, oh man, he disappeared again. That's too bad, because I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue with this stuff. So follow me on those other platforms. This is great to look back at all you've done. I've watched lots, but so much more I haven't seen. Thanks for sharing your memories of 20 years. Keep up the great work. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Glad you didn't get too bored from me walking down memory lane on this stream. God bless you, lad, says Cody McDonald. Thank you very much. Great work, bro, says Richard Harris online. Thank you. Rich Harrison, sorry. So many people in the inverted world we live in will try to get us all doing unhealthy things. I distance myself from all of these people nowadays. It's not worth our energy. Yeah, I would agree. Me and my wife have like almost next to zero friends because too many people are too messed up. You know, we keep to ourselves for that reason. Tim Hortons is garbage. Yep. That is for sure. And it's especially gone way down in the recent years. We won't even step foot in a Tim Hortons anymore. I think I joined you on this ride 1 year in. Congrats on 20 years. Come a long way from working at a record shop in to here. Congrats, Dan, on what you deserve. That's somebody who knows me. Sounds like, because yeah, I worked at Sunrise Records at Young and Bloor for a number of years. I was working that day at Sunrise Records when 9/11 happened. I remember I had to be at work at 10 a.m. that morning, and I'm at home watching the footage online. I just saw the first tower come down, and they're replaying the stuff hitting from earlier, and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to leave for work, but I'm a manager, I'm a key holder, I got to go let the other people who are going to show up in. And I remember when I showed up, I got out of the subway, and I look up, and there on the screen at Yonge and Dundas, a huge TV screen, was Lloyd Robertson, big famous news anchor at the time, talking about the towers coming down. And then I go to unlock the doors at Sunrise Records, and my fellow employee was there. And I said, did you see what happened? Did you hear about the towers? And he goes, yeah, and the Pentagon too. I'm like, what? The Pentagon? Because that happened while I was on the subway on my way to work. And then we got in there, and we're supposed to play on the TVs inside of Sunrise Records just this looped video of Sunrise Record promotional stuff. Well, I stopped that, and I put on the news, and we just had that playing inside the record store all day. And then a representative from Sunrise Records came by that day and told us, turn that off and put back on the promotional stuff you're supposed to be playing. And I argued with them and said, not going to do that. This is a day that is going to be remembered for decades. Do you not know what happened this morning? Like, are you paying attention? And it was only a couple of days later, guys, that I was at my friend's house. We're watching the footage because it was just 24/7 for the following like couple of weeks. And it was a few days later, my friend's girlfriend actually said, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if these guys did this to themselves. If it wasn't like Bin Laden and Al Qaeda and all this, but it was actually the American government doing an inside job. That was the first time I ever heard anything like that, a couple of days after it happened. And she said that, and I was like, that's interesting. Like, I've never heard that angle. And then I started looking into it a little more, and then that became more obvious that that's exactly what, this is what happened, And then I went down the rabbit hole of research, ended up covering the 9/11 Toronto hearings, doing a 6-hour long documentary on it, interviewing everybody involved. And yeah, there's just more smoking guns than you can imagine that would point to that being the truth. So she was right. And that's what led me to becoming an activist in 2001, getting out in the streets, handing out flyers and DVDs. Did that for like 5 years until I joined so many groups that there were starting to be a lot of infighting going on. A lot of the people in the groups I was in were having different opinions about what the solutions ought to be and about how we are to go about sending out information. And there was a lot of clashes happening. And I said, you know what? I'm going to start my own thing. I'm just going to do my own thing. And then Bilderberg came to town. And I already knew about Bilderberg. And I was like, wow, they're only like a 6-hour drive for me to get there to cover this. So I'm like, I'm going to go bring a camera, not as a protester, not as an activist, but just a guy who's going to document it and expose it with a video camera. And I did it. And that, again, was the moment that I realized this is what I want to do with my life. And when I got home from that, I was like, okay, I got to come up with a name. And I came up with Press for Truth. I remember I wrote down a list of like 5 or 6 different names, and Press for Truth just kept standing out. And then I went with that. Interestingly enough, it was like 6 months later, or maybe it was just a couple of months. I don't really remember. But anyways, it was a few months after the fact that this film came out called 9/11 Press for Truth. And I was like, what are the odds? Like, everybody's going to think that I came up with my name because of this documentary, and people are going to get confused thinking that I made the documentary or something, but it's not connected whatsoever. Total coincidence. Again, I came up with the name Press for Truth months before this documentary even came out. And then this film comes out called 9/11 Press for Truth. I was like, oh man, that's going to confuse people, but whatever. And so I just kept going on, and eventually, it stuck, and I became known as Press for Truth. And people realize it's not the same as that film. But anyways, let me get back to your comments and questions, and then I'm going to probably wrap this up. Hey, Dan, I've been watching you for a long time, says Miss Tippy. Thank you. Don't ever buy a condo. You don't even own the land, and the condo board is always more powerful. So even if you think you have a voice, you don't. I know. I owned a condo for 10 years, and it was all of that. Everything that you just explained. Property taxes continuously going up, even though the same amount of property is being, occupied by like 1,000 people going up into the sky. And the condo board, condo fees kept going up. The board were a bunch of psychos. I had some guy trying to kick me out for interviewing some political candidates who showed up. It was all kinds of crazy stuff. So I was happy to get out of that a long time ago. And then I moved here to BC. Dan, you're a legend, says Broke Ass Canadian. Well, I appreciate that, but I'm not so sure. But thank you for the comment. Not boring. You've done amazing work exposing the corruption and evil conspiracies against us. Thank you. Glad you liked it. Seen you years ago on InfoWars. And Alex, says Cody McDonald. Yeah, I've been on InfoWars dozens of times. A lot of people don't know that. I've been on a couple of times this year. I mean, earlier this year, I went viral in Puerto Vallarta during the cartel madness that spanned about 24-hour period where they were burning cars and buildings, and I was right in the thick of it. So I went pretty viral back then, and so I was on with Jones. And then I was on again just in April when I was documenting the Bilderberg conference in Washington, D.C. that happened in April. First time in 33 years that it's been held in April. It's funny every time I say that. 33. He said 33. He's like Illuminati confirmed. I'll never escape that kind of stuff. It's like I could do a video where I'm just comfortably holding my hands like this, like I do sometimes. But if it's angled a little bit too much like that, they're like, oh, he's making a symbol. Or I used to say, you know, like if I'm saying there was zero something, now I have to consciously do this. Because I used to say zero, zero. And then people would pause this, freeze frame it. Look what he's doing. He's doing like a 666 symbol, or he's Illuminati confirmed. He might as well be doing this. It's like, okay, I'm just going to do this now. I'll try not to do this anymore. Like, it's kind of comical, but some of the stuff I got to deal with. Keep it up, brother, says Cody. Thank you. I love that you secretly filmed that guy. They all need to be exposed. Yeah, I've done that a number of times, and I was hoping to do it next month for the dialogue conference, but it got canceled. I mean, it canceled at that venue, that is. They're probably still going to hold the meeting, just in some other country and some other venue. I don't love the New World Order, but I would love to expose the New World Order. That's where I'm at. Yeah, join the club. It's awesome. Good old COVID. Greetings from Manchester, UK, aka Gotham. Yep, I got a lot of viewers from England, interestingly enough. If I look at my analytics, a lot of the views come from England. With the lesbian couple, did you ask who is the mother and who gave birth? I didn't ask that, but I got into all kinds of stuff that challenged, you know, what they're doing with their kid and the pronoun mandates, and you could see them starting to get uncomfortable halfway through the interview where they started to realize what my angle is. I remember the Ottawa stuff, says Rich Harris. Yep, intense, very intense. Moose on the Loose is doing 2 a day now. Y'all working so hard for us. Yeah, I mean, I've done 2 a day for a little while. I might get back into that. You know, Tim Pool was doing 5 a day for like 10 years straight. And he still does. On one channel, he does 4 kind of commentary videos, and then on another channel he does 1 main upload, and then he's got his show live, you know, twice in the morning and then at night. And like, that guy's like a workaholic, that's for sure. I'm not a fan of his stuff. I don't watch any of it, but his work ethic definitely inspires me to want to do better. Amazing trip down memory lane, bittersweet as we descend or dissolve into dystopian lucid nightmare. Ephesians 6:12-17, put on the armor of God. Yeah, thank you, Bog Katie, 1291. The censorship is crazy. I agree. I was heavily censored. Oops, I just skipped a bunch of stuff. Let me scroll back. Okay, I'm going to try to get through all these before we wrap it up. Here we are. I will never support Facebook, Instagram, or X. Thank you. Will never support Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. Yeah, that's understandable. But you're here on YouTube. You should definitely join me on some of these other platforms like BitChute and Odyssey. Those are probably some of the best ones. I don't know if I'm able to receive a super chat. I remember those. Even though they won't put ads on my videos, the channel is still technically monetized. So if anybody wants to send a super chat, you can give that a try. That'd be greatly appreciated. Phenomenal work, Dan. Keep going. You deserve 1 million subscribers. Thank you. That would be nice. I was capped at 275, 280 for 5 whole years, more like 7 years. And only now, recently, I'm starting to get a few more. I'm up to 285 now. But yeah, I probably should be closer to 1 million if I wasn't shadow banned and censored the way I have been. Enjoyed every minute. Thanks. Today's censorship makes Soviet-era censorship look mild. They live, we sleep. Congrats, Dan. Your advocacy continues to be most impressive. Here's to another 2 decades and beyond. Thank you, Transparent Media Truth. Appreciate it. I really believe Erica Kirk is demonic. I'm not so sure about that. I think a lot of the criticisms aimed at her have been a little harsh and unfounded. Rightly so. It's good to be critical and have your guard up, absolutely. But I think a lot of it's a little overblown. God bless, brother. Thank you. King Charles has broken his coronation oath. I talk about that in my video that I pointed out earlier. Check out Bishop Kai Dewar's letter to King after refused to acknowledge Easter but did for Ramadan. Interesting. He converted to Islam years ago. Not surprised. More documentaries, says Cody Leatherdale. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in that. I've put out kind of short types of documentaries, even in the last 5 years. I did one on that ostrich farm situation, but that was while this channel was terminated. So you'd have to have been on my other channels to have seen that. So yeah, definitely do that. Subscribe to me elsewhere. DVDs are historical records that can't be erased off the clouds. Yes, that's why I still, have copies of mine. And yeah, they're good to have. Let's see. Epic use of free will, says my brickhead. Thank you, with the little salute emoji. Transparent Media Truth said, a stoner. I used to be. I actually quit smoking weed a little over a year ago now. And I've been stone cold sober for over a year and a half in that regards, and still going. No plans on going back. I feel better. I'm more clear-headed. I have dreams now. I dream like crazy, where I didn't used to. And we're talking, I was one heck of a chronic. We're talking like 30 years of straight daily smoking, 20 times a day for 30 years straight, right on up until a little over a year ago. I quit. So, yeah. Same birthday as Mean Mustache Man. Yeah. Same birthday as Donald Trump is probably, maybe, I don't know if you're referring to him as Mean Mustache Man, but Donald Trump has the same birthday as me. Lovely doggos. Thank you. Yep. Tony and Kaiser, my little buddies, part of the fam. Says WWJ. What would Jesus do? Petting dogs can be so relaxing, says my brickhead. Yep. Praying for babies for you both. Thank you. That would be incredible. I would love to make that announcement someday. But we're running out of time. We're both in our mid-40s, so hopefully sooner than later. Humanity can learn so much from dogs and other animals in general, says Transparent Media Truth. I could have swore that I see Dan with a kid years ago. No, you must be mistaken. Again, we would love that. Congrats, Dan. You're the best in Canada and around the world. Oh, appreciate that. That's a big compliment. Hey, brother Dan and friends, says Jonah Curry. Hello. Shout outs to our Toronto Change, Toronto 9/11 Truth Days. Yes, Richard Harrison. Yeah, man, you were there in the early days when we were banging out the flyers and the DVDs, Toronto 9/11 Truth, the meetup groups, getting together at a pub once a week, and discussing our plans. And it was shortly after all that I launched Press for Truth. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to take my activism to the next level here. So glad to see you're still around and paying attention, and much love to you too, man. Good to see and hear from you. Mind control is the fear. Matrix is strong. Yeah. Well, hopefully we can undo that. We need more of you guys out there doing this kind of stuff. Congratulations, Dan, from Finland. Thank you. Hey, Dan, greetings from Austria. Are you still smoking weed? I guess I just answered that. Nope. I quit a little over a year ago, mainly because I want to have a better connection with my creator, God. I can't have a proper personal one-on-one relationship when I'm high 24/7. And that was the main reason for doing that. So, yeah, to answer your question, nope, no longer smoking weed. Tony is such a sweetie, says KLN. I love animals. Yeah, he's the best. Kaiser is so sweet as well. Yep, they're awesome. Um, okay, my chat's just skipped a whole bunch. Here we go. Okay, I'm getting close to the end. Um, did your friends who had their marijuana dispensary shut down years ago ever get back into growing without chemicals? Well, that I covered that live. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was wild. I remember they called me up and they're like, "They're shutting down the dispensary right now. Can you get there?" And I was like, I went straight there, started live streaming and confronting these guys because obviously it was a major monopoly takeover of the entire industry. And we warned about that before it happened. We were telling people this is what they're going to do. Legalization is not a good thing. You know, don't vote for Trudeau just because he's going to legalize. You know, decriminalization would be all right, but legalization is just going to monopolize the industry. They're going to push people onto the black market. They're going to shut out mom and pop shops, and they're going to run the show. That's exactly what happened. So, yeah, I'll never forget any of that. FIFA wants your louche. Archons love the energy. Not sure what you mean by that, but Tim Pool is a complete Zionist. Yeah, I don't know what his connections are there. If he is one of the ones accepting the shekels. I mean, he was invited by Bibi to be in a personal meeting, so there's some sort of connection, that's for sure. Word refers to the Bible. Yes, it does. Yeah, thank you for continuing to point that out. I hope people will delve into their Bibles and read the most popular book in the history of mankind, the most controversial book, the most influential figure, Jesus Christ. Go to the source documents, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the first 4 books of the New Testament, which are the Gospels, which really just means the good news. So if you want to read about the good news, do so there. Keep up the great work, says Glenmond. Thank you. Check out Gary Wayne, another Canadian legend. All right, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. Interesting stuff on the Bible, giants and the Nephilim. That's all very interesting stuff for sure. I'll check it out from him. Trust nature, not evil. Idiots, love is the law. Protection is love. Honor your ancestors and wholeness. Thank you, Jonah Curry. Yeah, protection is love. Thank you for the comment. Are you streaming from the moon? No, I'm here in Squamish, British Columbia. And how long have we been going now so far for? Let's see. Almost 2.5 hours. I haven't even had anything to eat today, so I might have to call it. I'm like ravagingly starving. I didn't know I was going to go for this long, but I got a lot of comments and questions, and I just want to keep hanging out with you guys because this is great. Love is not the answer, says Mike McKenzie. I would agree. I mean, ultimately, it's not the answer. Follow your heart as being some of the most worst advice anybody can give. You know, the Bible says how our hearts are deceitfully wicked and should not be trusted or followed by any means. But rather, you know, Jesus's example is what should be followed, you know, and I would strongly agree with that. Okay, make sure I'm still on the where we want to be here. Hang on. Okay. All right, let's wrap this up. Trust nature. Is this a child on here? Yeah, I would also agree trusting nature is not a way to go. TPUSA has an advisor named Paul Veli. He co-authored Mind Wars with Michael Aquino, Mind Control PsyOps, interesting rabbit hole. Yeah, I just did a whole presentation on on mind control. Check it out, guys. If you haven't seen it, I would say it's probably my second best speech. If you go to the bottom of my website, you have to actually click on video reports in order to go see previous stuff. Oh, I'm not showing you. Sorry, let me do that. You have to go here to video reports, and then you can go back through the multiple pages and pages of stuff and go check out this one. Shocking speech. Dan Dix exposes Canada's secret behavioral engineering program. In this video, Dan Dix of Press for Truth covers Canada's hidden behavioral engineering program, a covert government effort to shape citizens' beliefs, emotions, and behaviors. In this powerful talk, Dan reveals how authorities are using psychological techniques and propaganda tools to manufacture consent and control public opinion. From nudge units to mass manipulation strategies, this eye-opening speech uncovers the mechanics of modern behavioral control and what it means for freedom in Canada and beyond. This is a 45-minute talk. Can hardly be called a speech. It was like a 40-minute talk that I gave in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico earlier this year, talking about mind manipulation techniques and mind control, essentially. So if you haven't seen that one, guys, make sure you check that out as well. All right. We'll get back to the comments and then we'll wrap it up. Much love. The simplicity of God, his divine order and law proves he is who he claims. You will bow before God. That's absolutely right. The fact of the matter is, you know, Jesus made bold claims about who he was, and what would happen. And he's either telling the truth or he isn't. He's either God in human form, or he was just a madman ranting lunatic. Like, I find it funny when people say that, you know, he wasn't God, but he was just a prophet. He was a smart teacher. You could learn a lot from him. He was a good man, a good teacher. It's like, well, if you're saying he's not who he claimed to be, God in the flesh, then he's not good. He's a liar and a manipulator, or he's so delusional that he should be locked up in a loony bin. So it's one or the other. He either is who he says he is, and therefore should be worshipped, or he isn't. There's no in between about he's not, but he's good. He's just a prophet, a teacher. You know, no, he's either God incarnate or he's not. And I believe he is. I believe the historical evidence proves that he is. Okay, looks like I'm at the bottom. God bless you, my brother, says Rich. Thank you. Appreciate that. Has anyone gotten a chance to get their golden Trump phone? Don't know about that. I'm Canadian, but God bless you all, says Mike McKenzie. God bless Canada. Dan is the bravest journalist I have met. What courage this man has. He is truly blessed. Thank you very much. That is the most recent comment to come in. So maybe we will wrap it up on that. Once again, guys, pretty wild. 20 years. That came and went pretty fast. Thank you again so much to everybody who's been watching for 20 years, or even 10 or 15 or 5, or even if you just subscribed in the last couple of years. Thank you. Please continue to be a loyal subscriber. Don't forget to go back into the archives. Use the search feature to figure out, hey, what has he ever had to say about this topic or that topic, or has he ever covered this? Use the search feature on YouTube and my website to figure that out. Go back, look at some of the archives, some of the old previous stuff I've done. Some of it's not going to be on the YouTube channel because I was gone for that 5-year chunk from 20 to 2025. So remember that. And also, don't forget to show your support, you know, financially, because I do need that, you know, moving forward. The best place to do that here is at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Again, best thing you can do is sign up for a monthly reoccurring contribution. Again, $10, $20, whatever is within your means is so very greatly appreciated. You can also do a one-time donation with PayPal. by clicking right there. You can do an e-transfer. Please consider doing that when the broadcast ends. I could definitely use your help to recover some of the costs that I have to incur after attempting to cover dialogue next month. You can send stuff to my P.O. box, and you can also do, you know, Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. But any contribution, guys, is greatly appreciated. Again, either way, I'm going to continue to bang out videos as best I can. Continue to maybe make future documentary films, cover live events, protests and rallies, do interviews and be interviewed. Just do that boots on the ground reporting, Bilderberg, dialogue, whatever, you name it. I will be there. I will be doing my best. And I want to thank everybody who's been supporting me over the years. Again, pretty wild that today is the day that marks 20 years of Press for Truth. So I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Don't forget to continue to like the stream, share the stream, subscribe if you're not already. Don't forget to go to pressfortruth.ca/subscribe, where you can find me on all the other platforms, because there's a real good chance I'll be terminated again from this particular channel right here that you're watching this on. It's very likely that will happen again in the future. So don't be one of those guys who go, oh man, that's too bad, I'm not seeing his stuff anymore. I will still be going every day for the next 20 years and beyond. Yeah, be sure you subscribe to me elsewhere. And that's all for today, guys. One last look at the comments, saying goodbye. The world is run by PDF files. I think I know what you mean. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate that. $5 super chat just came in. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. Again, guys, go to pressfortruth.ca/donate for the best way to contribute. YouTube takes like 30%, I think. But if you go to pressfortruth.ca/donate, you can do so in ways that'll go directly to me without anybody, you know, taking some in between. So thank you so much, guys. Happy anniversary, Dan. Thank you. Very much appreciate it. And that's all for this live stream. I'm going to call it at that. How long have we been going? 2.5 hours. I think I'll call it at that. I am starving and my butt hurts sitting on this little stool that I use all the time. So I'm gonna get back to work. I won't be posting anything tomorrow. Tomorrow's Sunday. I go to church on Sundays and I read my Bible and I honor the Sabbath. People might not notice I haven't posted a video on a Sunday, like ever. Like I've always done this. The only times I've ever posted a video on a Sunday is when I might be like out in Europe covering Bilderberg or something like that. And in those circumstances, I will do so. But yeah, look back and you'll notice I never post on a Sunday. I dedicate that day to the Lord, to delving deep into my Bible, to meditating on His Word, praying, going to church. And I think everybody should do that. It doesn't have to be a Sunday per se. You know, there's arguments to be made about what is and isn't the actual Sabbath. But as long as you, one day out of the 7, that you use it to rest and read and fellowship and pray. And that's what I do. So I'd encourage other people to do that as well. So I won't be posting anything tomorrow, but you will hear from me again on Monday. So thank you again so much to everybody who's been a loyal viewer for 5, 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. Again, Press for Truth is nothing without you, the viewers. So thank you very much, guys. That's all for today. Stay tuned for more reports coming soon. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth. See ya.